Alright, picture this. Liverpool 1957. It's a city full of dock workers, grey skies, and a bunch of teenagers obsessed with this new thing called rock and roll. Four lads are about to change music forever, but right now they're just some scrappy kids with guitars and drums, trying to figure it all out. So first we've got John Lennon, loud, rebellious, always cracking jokes, and the frontman of a little skiffle band called the Quarrymen. Now, skiffle was this weird mix of folk, blues, and homemade instruments. Basically, the indie garage band of the 1950s. One summer day, July 6, 1957 to be exact, John and the Quarrymen are playing at the St. Peter's Church Fair. After the set, a mutual friend introduces him to Paul McCartney, who is 15. Way too talented, and get this, actually he knows how to tune a guitar, which John Lennon at the time did not. So Paul picks up a guitar and busts out 20 Flight Rock by Eddie Cochran. Nails it. John is standing there thinking, okay, this guy is good, maybe too good. He actually hesitates, because let's be real, John doesn't want to get off stage. But eventually he figures, alright, let's bring him in. Now Paul is in, but they still need a proper lead guitarist. Enter George Harrison, Paul's mate from school. He's 14, yes 14, and insanely good at guitar. One night, Paul brings George to audition for John. They're riding a double-decker bus, and George pulls out his guitar and plays round tune. John's impressed, but thinks George is too young. He eventually gives in, because let's be honest, you don't turn down a guy who can shred like that. So now, we've got John, Paul, and George. No drummer yet, but they start playing wherever they can. We're talking places like the Casbah Coffee Club. This place was owned by Mona Best, the mother of aspiring drummer Pete Best. It was a basement club with spiders painted on the ceiling, classic. The Jacaranda, a coffee bar run by Alan Williams, their first manager, sort of. Fun fact, he once abandoned them in Germany. Now, let's be clear, the Beatles weren't some polished, suit-wearing pop stars yet. They were broke, loud, and constantly arguing who was the leader. John obviously thought it was him. By mid-1960, they get an offer to play in Hamburg, Germany. But there is a problem. They still don't have a full band yet. They need a permanent drummer. So they hired Pete Best, mostly because he had a drum kit and he had some experience. He wasn't the flashiest drummer, but he was reliable, and they needed someone fast. Then off to Hamburg they go. And Hamburg, oh boy, it was rough. They were playing in tiny clubs, 6 to 8 hours a night, every single day. They were exhausted, running on beer and German energy pills called Predolin, which, let's say, kept them awake. Oh, and their living conditions? Horrendous. They literally slept in the back room of a movie theater, next to the toilets. But this is where they became a real band. They learned how to hold a crowd, how to jam for hours, and how to survive the badness of rock and roll life. By 1961, they returned to Liverpool as a tighter, meaner, better band. They're getting popular. Their cavern club shows are packed. And then they meet Brian Epstein, who sees their potential and offers to manage them. He cleans up their image. No more leather jackets, hello fancy suits, and gets them to audition with EMI producer George Martin. Here's where things get tricky. By mid-1962, the Beatles are on the verge of breaking out. Their record Love Me Do with George Martin. But there is an issue. Martin isn't impressed with Pete Best's drumming. Behind the scenes, tensions had already been brewing. Pete wasn't as tight musically as the rest of the band, and he didn't quite fit in with their humor or personalities. So, in August 1962, the Beatles make the difficult decision to fire Pete Best and replace him with Ringo Starr. He was the drummer of another Liverpool band, Rory Storm and the Hurricanes. Now, not everyone was happy about this. Some Liverpool fans were furious. Outside the Cavern Club, angry fans started chanting, "Pete forever, Ringo never." On one occasion, George Harrison gets hit by one of the angry fans, and he ends up with a purple eye. With John, Paul, George, and Ringo officially together, they record Love Me Do, this time with Ringo on drums. And by early 1963, they release Please Please Me, which explodes. By 1963, they're the biggest band in Great Britain. By 1964, they've taken over America. And they perform at the Ed Sullivan Show with screaming fans, and they start a full-blown Beatlemania in America. And that's how the Beatles got their start. Not bad for a bunch of Liverpool kids who once got kicked out of Germany for vandalism and being underage, huh? What do you think?